What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 game development live stream where we're back in our gas course project, an action game built from scratch using Unreal Engine 5, of course, the gameplay ability system plugin, C++ blueprints, and all that good stuff. So this week we've been working on our melee collision trace subsystem. And at the beginning we've been using a kind of a queue, which I learned yesterday probably is not the best. So what we're going to end up needing to do is change it to just, I guess, a simple array of this data. That way we can easily iterate over it and remove them on whim and clear the array at the very end if we need to when we uninitialize the subsystem. So overall it might be better. So that's what we're going to try to do. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll see how far we get. Because again, the subsystem is going to be doing traces and we want to be able to use it within our animation notify state as well, so that we can query it in game. So I believe we might have to handle this in different ways, obviously, when we're either in editor or just in actual game. So we're going to just do baby steps, I suppose. So let's get into our subsystem here. So yeah, we have our to-do, switch to an array rather than a queue. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So rather than being a TQ, let's remove that. We're going to make, I think I could just make a T array. And then instead of queue, just call it requests. And now we have an array, but obviously we got to fix a bunch of stuff. So let's slowly get to that. So we have initialize and deinitialize. So I think on deinitialize we need to also make sure we remove it. So we could say if what's the name of that variable? So if not empty, I think I get to say melee press dot. So does empty do that? It does. I thought it was gonna be like something like melee request dot like clear, but I guess empty is what we want. So if it's not empty, we want to empty it when we deinitialize. Now we have request sphere melee trace, so now this is all about adding it to an array. So I don't want to do anything with active or in queues or anything like that. I should just be able to say, you know, so melee requests dot add melee request. And then we can do the is melee trace in progress. We should be able to just kind of nuke all that in the beginning because we're no longer working with the queue. We don't have to dequeue anything and requeue them or anything like that. So I should be able to just say that. So so is melee trace request in progress. I don't think we need to really pass it in or anything like that. And then we have cancel. And then, so I think we can remove at least the top part. We can remove this while, and also we can leave that. We don't have to requeue anything. And there we go. And then process. So if melee trace request, all that, so we can remove this garbage. Whoops, I think I removed too much garbage. So let's try that. Now, instead of saying like that, I guess I could say, so if num equals 0, return, and then I could say, you know, for f melee trace requests and melee requests, then I should be able to I should be able to go like that. So hopefully something like that. Just need to remove all references to that. So active. I think that's good. Now we need to go into our notify state because maybe some stuff broke there. So we request. I think that's all still well and good. Then on notify end, we're checking. So we don't need to do this. So if the notify ID is good and the melee trace is in progress, we could do that. I think that's fine. So hopefully that works. We're going to find out the hard way. So you might yell at me for the classic compilation errors. Let's see. Okay. Nothing too big of a deal. I understand what's wrong. So melee request. So const that melee request. So is melee request in progress? Definitely doing something wrong here. What are we doing? We're refactoring how we're doing our melee trace subsystem. So rather than it being a queue, we're just going to change it to an array. And verify that it still works. So for const melee request and melee trace request. So okay, the T array of this kind of stuff. That seems fine. Not sure exactly what this means. How am I doing today? I'm doing good. Thanks. So check the container being looped, ensure anything you iterate over the proper container. So T array, yeah. So melee requests, it's a T array. I don't think I need active, but we'll see. So for, what else is wrong? So that's line 73. So for const melee request, do I have to make it a pointer? And then also out trace data equals, so if melee request, we could just return true there. Let's just take it warning and error, well, error by error at this point. Okay. So I gotta change the signature. So is melee trace in progress? Okay. Fewer errors at this point. So for is it a, I forget what that's called. It's not a pointer, it's a reference. Okay. What else is wrong? So line 108, still a problem. A conditional expression of type is not valid. So guess I could say that. I guess I technically don't need to do that, but let's just assume I don't need to do that. So let's grab, yeah, let's just grab that much. Let's scope that out. Just do that. We'll see what we get. Okay. Slowly getting there. So these have to be dots. Not a big deal, not a big deal. There's gonna be a lot of them, I guess. Sure, we missed some, but we'll go piece by piece. The warning list is definitely lower. I keep saying warning, it's an error. Who am I kidding? That should be good. That should be everything. Booyah. So let's see if things get drawn properly, like the traces, and make sure that they are removed. So I'm also kind of curious how this will work within like the notify state itself. Like every time it begins, it'll create a new trace. I just wonder if there's more that I need to do. There's draw an editor, should fire an editor, can be placed. All this stuff, tick, notify tick stuff. Trigger, editor color, pro slow, preload. Not sure. Hey, thanks for the follow. Oh boy. Why Purub? Hopefully that's relatively close to what your name is. Thanks for the follow, much appreciated. How you doing? Alright, so there should be the Superman punch. Assuming it's gonna hopefully not crash. Okay, so honestly, we don't have anything drawing in editor just yet, which is totally fine. Let's just see if it draws in game. And it does. And it stops. Awesome. Okay, so we're on the right track. And the editor is behaving much better than it was last night, so we got that going for us. So let's look here. Let's change the state. Let's change this to like 25. Let's just confirm that that updates it correctly. good. And obviously, we're having the issues where, obviously in slower time frames, we're getting more traces and everything like that. But you'll see some spacing issues still. And obviously if we make the t.max FPS to like 10, you're going to see a significant drop as well. So honestly, we're going to have to try to prep for that. I'm not sure. I guess spheres can draw in interesting ways. I don't know if we want to make it big enough to like encompass the space and everything like that. But we could try to figure that out. I do wonder if I get this call in editor at the moment. No. I think that's fine. Because, yeah, we're getting the mesh comp, getting the owner. So we're definitely getting here. In the mesh comp, getting owner, get world. Trying to get the subsystem. The subsystem is null. So I wonder how best to handle this. So we're gonna have to well, first we'll try to ask Google. We'll see if we can rely on humans. So UE5, C++, how to use world subsystem in editor. So edit subsystem variables inside editor, programming subsystems, view editor actor subsystem, writing Unreal subsystems, subsystem available in game and editor. That sounds like what we want. So an overview of programming subsystem. So view engine subsystem. I am looking to the subsystem system. If I create a class that inherits from game instance subsystem, blah, blah, blah. So maybe we need to be using an engine subsystem? Let's see what the AI says. See if we get contradictory information, and maybe we could try to figure it out. How can I use my world subsystem in atom notify states? Let's see. I guess that's not the best way to ask. So how can I use my world subsystem while in editor? Or subsystem in montage preview in editor? Let's see. So a couple of challenges. This is because the montage preview and the animate, it's not really the world. So how to use a world subsystem in a montage preview. Handle subsystem access in editor and preview worlds. So use the world associated with the skeletal meshes component even in the editor. So we already do that. Okay, so the challenge of preview, simulating subsystem behavior. Create mock functionality, modify the subsystem to handle both game runtime. Enable uWorld. Okay, there's something that says enable uWorld subsystem in editor worlds. To use the subsystem effectively in the editor, ensure it's initialized and available in the preview editor world. Mark system. Okay. What? Mark subsystem as usable in editor. Ensure your subsystem class is configured to support editor usage by setting the proper behavior flags. Specifically use the system with editor. I mean, is there any examples? Is this a thing? Is this just lying to me? Sorry, I'm just doing some Googling here. Not so much. So, I'm not sure, like this example doesn't really say anything. So subsystem. Don't know if that's going to compile. In the meantime, should I use an engine subsystem for melee traces? So engine subsystems live at the global engine level, accessible across all worlds, both Pi and editor worlds, which we definitely would want. Initiate when the engine starts and persist for the lifetime of the engine. Shared across multiple worlds, so it's not world specific. So yeah, considerations for that. All right, we have someone we can ban. Bye bye. So yeah, unknown specifier, so that's not really a thing. So harder to debug logic that is dependent on world-specific context, as engine subsystems do not automatically know which world context they are working with. Okay, so it's still recommending world. So how to access world subsystem in editor world. Show me the money. So to interact with world subsystems, you first need access to the editor world, blah, blah, blah. So use gedit. Okay. So let's make the assumption here. So I want to say, so if gedit, is that the... then I'll say uworld world. I'll say editor world. Seems valid. Now, can I say editor world get subsystem? And if I just say like UE log. Sure. Wow. And then melee subsystem. Let's see if we get access to that. So by default, world subsystems may not work in the editor because they are designed for gameplay. To make your subsystem usable in the editor world, modify the subsystem class and mark your subsystem as an editor compatible by overriding the should create subsystem function. Okay, so I'll need to do that, it seems. So we should have virtual void should create. Is that not a thing? Yeah. It's not void, my bad. So return. So it allows it to be created in the editor world. So I think I have to do like an AND. So get the outer world. So return outer world and outer world. Or maybe that's okay. Let's see. Let's see what happens. And then we could do add with editor checks. Let's see if we even compile. Okay, so we compiled. we got that going for us, which is great. So let's see if we get any. So what I'm hoping for is we get to at least here. So let's see what happens. I think the animation will automatically play, so... Okay. So we got there. So obviously still nothing really happens. But I guess that's normal. So what we can try is pretty much this. And see what happens. Well, also, I'll need to say if gedit, so if mailing trace subsystem and fire in, we should fire an editor. Hoping we will see these traces in the montage preview. At least that's the goal. And then after this, like assuming we get this right, which fuck if I know. Which no. Of course not. Unless this, so B should fire an editor is true. So let's look at our logic path, I suppose. So maybe we're still missing some potential context. So we go here, boom. And then we get into here. Or not. So let's go. So we definitely get here, but I guess it's the fact that the maybe the system doesn't tick. Maybe it could be potentially, so yeah, I don't know why this illegal block index out of range. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, none of the data it's getting passed is very valid either, it seems. Because again, I think the problem here is that it's not really ticking, right? So maybe I need to make like an editor only thing where it's like, okay, just draw. Don't worry about this. Like, I don't know, honestly. So how to? So is there a callback for when a notify state is being scrubbed in editor? I don't know if scrub's the right word. I'll ensure doesn't directly provide a single built-in callback for when the MSC is being scrubbed in editor timeline. However, Unreal does offer tools to detect and handle scenarios where playback or scrubbing occurs, which allows you to indirectly handle scrubbing-related behavior. So over on notify states tick. So the tick gets processed in editor, I assume. Assume that's what that means. Yes. Okay. So I guess we can utilize that then. So I can say something like, what is it? If with editor, and then end if. Maybe I could do something like that. Again, I'm not confident in the data that's being passed, honestly. Let's try a steamy hot reload. Cool. Okay. So we're getting there, which is awesome on one side, but all right, so it is passing in correct information here. But we're still not showing. And again, I believe it's because we're just requesting and we're not actually drawing at that point. And because again, this thing's not really ticking. We need to, I think, make an editor only function here. So I wonder if I can just say something like, in editor, draw sphere melee trace, generate that, like that, and then in process, more or less like this, but potentially instead of melee request, well, I guess I could do something like this. Also, I could just call it melee request instead of just replacing that everywhere. Don't think we need a trace ID in this case. So we probably get rid of that too. One less thing to worry about. Maybe that's okay. Let's find out. Because if that compiles, then we can come back here and make the appropriate call here. Not super duper confident in that. Okay. No. Low-key shocked. So now we can replace this request. Don't need an ID. Don't have to do that. And let's double check this. I think I also ate too much Indian food. Had the classic butter chicken and some, what are they called? Some, not Samoas. Maybe they are called Samoas. They're good. But yeah, your boy's a little fat, a little chunky in the middle. Need to calm down. And yeah, when we're in editor, I don't think we need to do any sort of kind of interpolation. We should be able to just draw it. And I think within my data, I need to store the previous location, I think. We're going to have to figure that out. Okay, so it's still not drawing anything. Spooky tripods, nice. How is the AI assistant? Is it good? Yeah, I'd say it's pretty useful. Gives a lot of information. Maybe sometimes the code snippets aren't 100% correct, but I find it useful. And it knows the context in which I'm talking about. It knows I'm using Unreal Engine and all that stuff. So I think it's worth it. Okay, so let's see. Are we getting here? We are. I'm assuming the world is still bad. So I think I actually need to change that, how I'm accessing it. So I need to do something like that instead. So if gedit, what's the best way to write this? I guess I could do something like that. Move that into the if. Maybe that'll be okay. Hey, thanks for the follow. Have Gore. Much appreciated. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for hanging out. Welcome, welcome. Right now we're trying to figure out how to properly draw our melee overlap traces, like a debug version of it within the animation montage editor. We have it working in-game. Doesn't do anything except draw the sphere traces, but we want to make improvements there for ourselves, just to learn. And then we have to investigate interpolation to make sure that we can properly handle the frame delays and stuff like that. So world is not a thing. What did I mess up in? Okay, so we need to say editor world. And yeah, when we do the interpolation, again, I think I need to include in my data here, like previous location. I'm assuming that's what I would need to do. We can ask the AI assistant just to see what they would say. How to handle frame dependent interpolation of traces. Blah, blah, blah. Frame-dependent interpolation of traces can be challenging because relying solely on frame-specific values like delta times can result in results that can be very dependent on the frame rate, of course. So to handle frame rate dependent interpolation in a reliable and scalable way, consider these approaches, blah, blah, blah. Use continuous traces to account for frame skipping. When performing interpolation for traces, line traces, or sphere traces, always calculate intermediate steps between frames to ensure no collisions are missed regardless of frame rate. So last position, current position, more or less what I need to do. Interpolate based on world delta time, I don't know. So they actually go next position being trace start, trace direction. Interesting. Subdivide traces for high speed movement. Interesting. Use sphere traces instead. Blah, blah, blah. Use physics-based interpolation. Bugging visualizations. Conclusion, for simple cases, rely on delta time, high speed, blah, blah, blah. Okay. We'll get back to that in a second. Okay, so still nothing. Cool. Why? I'm assuming I get this far, right? Boom. Okay, we get that far. We get there, we get there, we get there, we get there. Okay. Seems like it should work. Very interesting. That doesn't really make a difference. Why, oh why? So, sphere trace doesn't work in animation editor. It maybe doesn't work isn't the right thing. So you're correct that certain tracing functions like that, or line trace blah blah, rely on the physics system won't work properly in the animation editor because the physics system is often blah blah blah. To make your sphere traces work for similar work in the animation editor, you'll need to use alternative methods. Okay, so I could do simulate. Is that a thing? Is that actually a function? Let's see, Kismet, system library, simulate, no. So sometimes I think this AI assistant just lies to me. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that exists. Okay, can I say draw debug sphere in editor? Like, it doesn't have to be a sphere trace or anything. To draw debug sphere in the Unreal Engine editor, you can utilize Unreal Engine's draw debug sphere function. Okay, so can I just grab that? Maybe that's kosher. Let's do a hot reload and find out. Who believes this will work this time? I have faith. I think it will. So what are we doing here? Show debug sphere or something? So I'm working on my melee trace subsystem. And I want to be able to see these traces within the animation editor, as well as the world. So that's what we're working on currently, the editor forms, the editor versions of these functions. Because they do show up in the world correctly. They detect a hit. Obviously, we still need to do the callback using the gameplay ability system. So function does not take 13 arguments. Jesus Christ. How many arguments am I giving it? Let's see. Draw debug sphere. Let's just copy that. So we need world, the center, the radius. We don't need object types, obviously, because we're not really checking anything. I'll just say 32 for segments. Persistent lines, false. Depth priority. Yeah, we don't care about actors to ignore. I guess not hit result stuff. That all makes sense that I put way too too much. F color, we'll say red, false. Yeah, should be good. Okay. No, still nothing. I feel like we're so close to greatness. And yeah, we don't need hit result stuff. We don't need like half of this stuff. Actually, all of this stuff. But let's see. Do we get here? So, yes. So editor world, yeah. Start location. So it's close to the origin. I wonder. I don't know where 000 is. Let's grab my player. Let's put him at 000. Let me open up this montage in another window. I just want to see if these things show up here in the world. Oh my god, it does. Oh no. It's not what we wanted. At least something's happening, right? But yeah, that's not what we want. Okay. So, I mean, we managed to figure that out only because the world it was returning was not the editor. Editor world was like something else. So if gedit get editor world context, does all that stuff. So start location, get socket location, all that crap. So check for editor context, use draw, debug sphere, location, persistent lines, lifetime. So if gedit and world type equals world editor. So debugging while scrubbing animation editor. So it's saying so mesh comp get world. So can I say that? So skeletal mesh component's not really a thing. It's scoped outside of that, I guess. I'm surprised editor world doesn't work. So how to access animation editor world context. So I have to retrieve the world from the skeletal mesh component. Okay. So maybe I need to get the, instead of actor, maybe for this debug version, I'm going to pass in instead of a actor, just the, so use skeletal mesh component, skeletal mesh component. Change that to that. I don't really care about that. Object types we don't really care about either for this debug draw. Let's nuke that. Good. So I don't need to do this whole thing. If now can I just say like get world? Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Found end of type when expecting. Okay. Now, like that, skeleton, blah, blah, blah. That should still be good. I don't think I actually need to do this. And I guess I don't need this if anymore. So I could do that. I can get rid of that. Ugh. Let me see if I can do this better here. That. So if gediter, blah, 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 editor, blah, 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 blah. I guess I don't really need to do this, right? I could just go like bam. Hopefully that's as simple as it needs to be. Hopefully I didn't take out too much. Seems like I took out too much. Okay. So line 45, we don't need object types anymore. Overload member function not found. We need to make that a pointer. Let's see. Okay. So can't convert argument one from a actor to skeletal mesh component. Okay, so we can just say mesh comp. 24. So melee request. So does socket exist? We can just say this and this. Start location equals. I guess we could just say. We can just say skeletal mesh component get owner get actor location. Then we could just make this trace radius. I think that for the 10th time, I think that's fine. But it's not. It's not. So start location. Okay, so this actually needs to be scoped up here. We're getting to the point of the stream where my headphones are starting to hurt my head. Okay, we're almost there. Boom. Okay. So we're finally able to compile. But that doesn't mean it's going to work. So we need to pray. I'm also super excited. Today I finally was able to pick up this Witcher board game that I backed like a year ago. And yeah, it comes with like a lot of like miniatures. It's like the board game and stuff. Let me see if I could show you guys some of it. I don't know how well you're going to see that. There's some miniatures here and some miniatures in here. Like the actual board games themselves was a little too big to get out of the box. I think the whole box was like 10 or 15 kilos. It's awesome. I'm hoping I can, like, because obviously you can use the figures for... Oh, it works! We got it! So we could just go wham. Psh. But yeah, honestly, like, I think we still need to have maybe a form of interpolation, because yeah, this ticking time is kind of all kinds of fucked. But you can scrub through it and just kind of watch and be like, bam, like that's awesome. So yeah, there was a shit ton of stuff that said that is what made it not really work. Doesn't make a massive amount of difference, but if you lower the segments of them spheres for debug, you save a ton of performance while it's debugging. Yeah, maybe I should. I think I put like 32. So I could just make it like 8 and it should still be valid. So why not? I'm just happy that it kind of works. So what caused it to not work? So the main problems was I was trying to use the Ukismet library like I am for normal requests for melee traces, and that requires an actual world, and I guess just like a game world to exist within and physics, and you don't get that within the editor. So I had to like dumb down the traces that I was doing and passing in the appropriate information. And the big thing was that I needed to ensure that I was passing the world from the skeletal mesh component, because that's the world that is contextually the animation editor world. Because if I don't, it was appearing in the world here. So just for my own sanity, let's just see. Does it also draw in the game world? No, it doesn't seem like it does. Awesome. And yeah, now we have 8 segments. So all well and good. Again, the potential problem being at the moment, not really much interpolation. Seems kind of sporadic. Honestly, when you're scrubbing, you know, you're getting this like tick a lot. So you can at least see it. Be like, okay, I want it to be here. Like ideally, it will probably be somewhere around here, you know? And then whoosh, until like here or something like that. But hey, we have something working. Let me also just confirm it's working in game. It is. And again, you know, we're already seeing problems, and that we'll need to fix maybe next time. And that's with like the interpolation. And obviously when we do slowdowns, we don't get that issue as bad. Yeah, pixel shake, that's exactly what we're going to be doing next time. We need to essentially in our data structure store the previous position so that we can interpolate between those positions. So you was passing in game row while in the animation viewport. It's not the game row, but something else world, right? Yeah, it's, I guess, editor world is what they call it. Or it's animation editor world, because, you know, technically this is editor world. But yeah, this is a completely different editor context. So we need to get the skeletal mesh that's here. Its owner, its world is this viewport. So we're able to draw it. And obviously if I tick off should fire editor, it doesn't show anymore, which is great. So boom, we have that. I don't know if we can get sweeping traces. We could probably get sweeping traces in subcapacity here, but definitely we need to figure it out for the world, because I don't really know. I guess I could draw a sphere trace in editor real quick. I just want to know what it looks like, because like when you do a draw debug sphere, no, sphere trace by channel, whatever. So there's start and then there's end. I'm assuming, let's make it 500. I'm assuming it becomes a capsule. When it has like a different start and end. Yeah. So we're definitely going to do something similar here. So basically sphere traces at some point just become capsules. So that's how we're going to need to interpolate, honestly. So we're going to need to basically store and overwrite the previous position and use that as the start location, and then the new end location is the current location of the bone. So yeah, that's going to be hopefully not too tricky. So we're making great progress. So we switched to an array rather than a queue, and we're able to draw in the editor. So that's great. So let's just put a note for ourselves. So start looking into interpolation of these traces. Because yeah, also I guess we would have to potentially maybe do it like essentially what I would want to see is like, because I think it was recommended by the AI assistant, but basically maybe I would first have to do like a diff to say, hey, is the distance between this previous location and the current location, is that more than the radius of the sphere? If so, go ahead and do the interpolation that way. Otherwise, you can kind of keep it. We'll see how that ends up looking. So I think that's it. It's going to be a short stream today. Our streams are usually just about an hour, maybe sometimes 2 hours, depending on the day. So thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it very, very much. Since we have a few people here, let's go ahead and raid First Crimson. In the meantime, thanks for watching, everybody. If you're new here and you haven't already followed me here on Twitch, a follow would be much appreciated. You can also check me out on YouTube, and you can join our Discord, and you can follow me on Twitter. So yeah, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good night, and I'll hopefully see you tomorrow.